This is Julio's Corner, my corner of the internet, where I talk about whatever is on my mind. This will basically be my audio diary, where I'll dump my thoughts into the ether for anyone to hear. I'll mostly talk about stuff I've watched, read, or listened to, but I may get introspective at times and reflect on my life or on society at large. This episode is being recorded on Sunday, May 25th, 2025. So here we are back a week later, a little less than a week, a day, 6 days, whatever. And I'm back. I still haven't watched any of the stuff that I said I'm going to watch. I've been taking a bit of a break from my shows and content. And by content, I mean the stuff that I have on the queue. Obviously, I've been distracting myself with media content. So, yes, content, generally speaking, I have been consuming, but not the stuff that I said I was going to get back to because I wanted to change, I guess you could say, because life is well, as you remember the last episode, life sucks. It's just it's a scam. So because of that, I've been feeling out of sorts in a way, and I guess I just wanted to do something a little different. And so, as luck would have it, my YouTube feed started changing up a little bit, and I started seeing old NBA games pop up on my screen, and these are old Chicago Bulls games from the '90s, the playoff games, and key moments in that moment of time when I was in high school, watching my Chicago Bulls get to their first three-peat and their second three-peat, and just break the hearts of Knick fans and Laker fans and Trailblazer fans and Heat fans and any other opponents that came across them and just had to sadly lose to Jordan's Bulls of that Bulls dynasty. So I've been preoccupying my time, I should say, with these nostalgia videos that are showing up on my YouTube feed, and I have plenty more in my watch later queue. Some Game 7 of the Phoenix Suns against the Seattle Supersonics before they played Chicago for Jordan's first three-peat. And excuse me, my throat is kind of scratchy all of a sudden, and I'm having trouble talking completely, so I keep pausing. Though I guess I shouldn't be apologizing because I will use the edit feature to remove those dead silence moments that I am muting because of my coughing attacks. But anyways, so yeah, I've been watching old NBA games on YouTube. You just gotta look for them, and they'll pop up. Michael Jordan, well, not Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls 96, Chicago Bulls 93, and so forth and so on. So yeah, I've been mainly watching YouTube, and in YouTube specifically, I've been watching NBA games, and also some squabbles between some internet personalities like Hassan Piker, going at it with Ethan Klein. Still, apparently, well, I guess after the debate, they're not really talking to each other. Not that they really talk to each other for over a year, but Ethan Klein is obsessed with him, and he keeps attacking him and smearing him, and so other people are also talking about it, and so I'm watching those types of videos, and it's just crazy how these Zionists who don't really have a leg to stand on because they're Zionist, and there's no honest way to defend your support of a genocide of these Palestinian people. So instead of talking about the genocide in Israel, they like to distract you with personal grievance, saying these people are attacking me. they're making my fifis hurt, my feelings. My feelings are being affected, and that's not nice, and that makes them terrorists, and so on. And actually, this past week there were these two people that were killed. I believe at a Jewish museum, and these two people work for I believe they work at a embassy for the Israel embassy here in the U.S. I don't remember where this happened. I think maybe Maryland or Virginia or somewhere. But anyway, it happened here in the country. And so these two people, they got engaged. They're not Jewish, but they do work for the Israeli embassy. So there's that connection. And this person who killed them, he gave himself up. And as he was being led away from the scene of the crime, he was shouting out loud, "Free Palestine, free Palestine." So, of course, this is I don't condone murder, obviously. For even if it's for a good cause, I don't condone it because it generally doesn't end well. And in this case, they are weaponizing this situation to make it a more of a hate crime instead of a political crime. Because this guy, number one, he killed two officials for the Israeli embassy. Whether he knew that they were workers of the Israeli embassy versus just two people that he randomly chose at a Jewish museum is in question. But what makes it more of a political crime than a crime of anti-Semitism is that he's talking about free Palestine. So already there's a political connotation behind his act. Whether or not it's justified is not the question here. But he felt because of the genocide that's happening over there in Israel, he, in his erratic behavior in this murder, felt that this was, I guess, his way of helping the cause, so to speak. And secondly or thirdly, I don't even remember if I've been counting or whatever, but I believe they found some what they're calling a manifesto talking about what's happening over there in Israel and the stuff and how Palestinians are being genocided and things of that nature. So this is definitely at face value is an act of a not a rational act by any means. It's extreme. It's murder, but also person did it on the backdrop of he believes it's unfair what's happening to the Palestinians. The Israeli embassy, of course, and the media that's pro-Israel and being backed by the ADL and the Anti-Defamation League, which is a pro-Israeli propaganda machine, and so on. They're making it. They like to make anything that's anti-Israel anti-Semitic, regardless of. They don't want to separate that because if you keep anti-Semitism into the forefront, you're giving yourself this shield. Like no, you can't say anything bad about Israel because then you're being racist towards Jewish people because it's anti-Semitic, right? That's the shield that they're using when they're trying to combine Israel. Anything Israel related is also Jewish related. All Jews are Israelis. That's what they want you to think immediately. So you can't say anything anti the government of Israel because you're saying something anti-Jewish, which is not the case. Because even here in the U.S., like Sam Cedar, like Jon Stewart, like several other outspoken personalities of the Jewish persuasion, and just Jews here in the U.S. in general, the majority of them are not pro-Israel in what's happening over there. They don't believe that this act of genocide is justified. There's even a movement of a Jewish movement. I don't know the name of it that speaks out against the state of Israel and what they're doing over there. So anyway, because of this, they are On CNN, the spokesperson for the ADL got on CNN, and he was talking about he mentioned Hassan Piker's name in the media, saying like I don't know why the New York Times tries to prop up this person here who is anti-Semitic, and he is pro-terrorism, and he's pro-genocidal towards the Jews, of course, not not pro genocide that's actually happening over there in Israel against the Palestinians. He's saying that he's anti-Semitic, and he's all about wiping out Jewish people, which Hassan Piker is not. He's not for wiping out any people. He's for peace and good to all humanity. So obviously, yeah, that's just a blatant lie and smear, and so they're gonna weaponize. This is just gonna further weaponize anything pro-Palestinian as being anti-Semitic. So now they're probably gonna say, if you hear someone saying "Free Palestine," that's a code word for an anti-Semitic attack or people who are anti-Semitic. When what Free Palestine means is, hey, you're killing off the Palestinians. We should free them from the massacre that's happening over there. But they don't, Israel and the Israel propaganda machine will not stand for that, because it makes them look like the villains that they actually are in that storyline. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing, watching YouTube videos on things like that. Well, I wasn't seeking that out. That populated into my algorithm, but mostly NBA stuff, and also reading manhwas, which are Korean mangas. So because I haven't really consumed any media that's relevant to today, like TV shows or anything like that, just random basketball game, playoff games, and some manhwas that I don't really want to delve into, because I don't know the names offhand, and and he wants to hear me talk about a Korean manhwa. So I have been following the news, and by following the news, I've been listening to the Majority Report on a daily basis, because Sam Cedar and the Majority Report is how I keep myself informed with domestic affairs. And so there was a story that popped out in one of the episodes that really rubbed me the wrong way. And of course, it's related to healthcare. As you know, or if you haven't been listening to the last two episodes, I currently don't have healthcare. And unlike other Western countries, Western nations, who provide United Healthcare, sorry, not United Healthcare, who provide universal healthcare, we here in the States do not provide that, unless you receive Medicare or Medicaid. So retired folk, they get universal health care. They get Medicaid and they get Medicare, and the very very poor in this country, the ones that are probably unemployed or permanently disabled, who can't hold a job, who are living in much more desperate situation than I am, more desperate, in a much more desperate state of poverty than I am currently living in. So, with the exception of those few case scenarios, we have a private health insurance system, and the fact that it's insurance, not health care, is already the red flag that it should be. But we've all grown up in this world of health insurance, so we just see it as a matter of fact. We just accept it socially, instead of not realizing how insane that is, that we're using insurance to properly take care of our bodies physically and mentally. So I currently do not, my job does not provide it. So I currently don't even have that option. So I haven't been to the doctor in 3 years. I haven't gone to the dentist in 3 years, because I can't pay out of pocket for that kind of a service, because I don't have insurance, and my job doesn't provide it, and I don't have the money to pay for my own insurance. So here I am. But anyways, as I was mentioning, in the Majority Report, either Wednesday or Tuesday, they were talking about a news story. They had the news reporter on their show, George Joseph, and he was talking about his the article that he wrote on the Guardian about how United Health was secretly paying nursing homes to reduce hospital transfers to just further their bottom line and profits. See, that's what makes having health insurance for your medical needs such an insane idea, because the whole purpose behind the insurance companies, like when you have auto insurance or you have home insurance, the business of insurance is you only use it when you have no choice, right? And the people that you pay the insurance to, their whole purpose is to pay as little as possible, and they're banking that the chances of them needing to pay out are low. So that's why if you get a that's why for auto insurance they look at your driving record, they look at how old or young you are. They have all these metrics, and depending on what it is, you pay whatever you do for car insurance. That makes total sense. I'm okay with car insurance, and of course home insurance. I totally understand that as well, because a home, heaven forbid, it burns down, or something unforeseen happens, and in your house, you lose your house, you pay for insurance to have that replaced, right? And the chances of that happening are rather low, unless you live in a flood zone or an area where there's constant fires every year, like in California, or barring those few scenarios aside, maybe a robbery. Robberies are minimal payouts, and so yeah. So I understand insurance for homes, because those are low risk factors for a company, who gets all these people bought in. Because when you get a car, you have to get auto. When you buy a home, you got to get insurance. So all these companies 100% cover houses and cars, and the chances of 100% claims happening 100% of the time is just nil. But people need to go see a doctor. I mean, just for an annual checkup, everyone has to go to a doctor, or they should go to a doctor every year, and so on. So paying insurance for health is ludicrous. We should have health care, but we don't. So here we are. So sorry, healthcare, not having healthcare, and the idea behind it, it gets me so angry, and so I go out of tangent sometimes. But back to the article. So you have United Healthcare, or the United Health Group, I should say, one and the same. This is like one of the biggest medical insurance conglomerates in our country. It used to be, I think, Blue Cross Blue Shield used to be the big one, and then Cigna at one point was the big one. They're still around, but United Healthcare has since become the number one insurance company. So anyway, you already know that they, when you go to a doctor and whatnot, they try to cut down on costs to pay for your medical needs. I mean, you're already paying them a premium, and you also pay a deductible when you go for every visit, and then whenever so for every test and medical procedure and whatever, they'll cover maybe 80%, 90%, whatever the case. Everyone has a different plan, and they always try to find a way to pay less than what than what the invoice tells them, because that's just how it works. That's the scam. So that's how they make their money already, right? So this story is even more, to me, it's more insidious, because you're talking about nursing homes. You're talking about our senior citizens, people who are, on death's door. They're on their way out of life, and they've done, they live their lives. They're on their way out. They need daily assistance. Family can't take care of them, because family's busy working and living their lives. So you live in a nursing home. That's what a nursing home is for. It's for senior citizens who need daily assistance, and because they can't take care of themselves anymore. So they're at the mercy of the nursing homes. and we have health insurance in in this country who's all about cutting cost. And so now, um, and senior citizens, as I mentioned earlier, they're one of the few groups that does get the universal health care. So they don't even have, well, I guess some of them. Okay, so I don't know how Medicaid and Medicare works, but apparently United Health somehow has their hands involved in this. Um, and but it's universal health care, right? I mean that's what Medicaid and Medicare is. So even though I guess United Healthcare somehow is running it, and they get this lump sum of money from the government for each senior citizen because they're covered by the government, so the government is paying all their stuff. So this money should be guaranteed to cover their the cost of taking care of these senior citizens. The United Healthcare group is thinking about, but how can we keep more of that money? And so one of the ways that they do that is that they put their own people into these nursing homes to try to minimize how many visits a day that the patient needs to go to a doctor. Like for instance, if a guy is having a stroke, let's say, they make you go through all these. You got to go through the bureaucracy. Who approves the visit and so on. And there was a case where a person was going through a stroke, and it took them several hours to finally give the okay. And but it was too late. The damage was done. And now the guy has a permanent, his face is permanently frozen because had they brought him to the doctor immediately while he was having the stroke, they could have mitigated that after effect, that cause and effect. But they didn't because of the middleman, United Health Group, getting in the way. And so this reporter has been, they've done extensive interviews. They've interviewed 20 current and former employees of United Health and nursing homes, and two of the whistleblowers submitted declarations to Congress, and yeah, this article is just so infuriating. And there's a saying, I'm trying to find it because I mean I read this article, but my mind is just, I'm seeing red just thinking about this. So bear with me. But there is a saying that insurance is. Oh yeah, I have it in some other wow, I can't talk right now. I'm so angry. In another article, the insurance, like they like to say these three things because well, I'll get to him, but the three words that insurance like to say, like their three bullet points is delay, deny, defend. So delay a test or anything from happening, like in the case of the guy that I just said, deny it, deny a claim, so on, and then defend your action. Well, the reason, well, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. They're old anyway. I mean, they're gonna die. And that is what someone actually said in the article. Let me look up the quote. I wish I had this all highlighted, but I thought I was going to. But yeah, because these are old people, they're like, well, they're gonna die anyway. That's like their whole take on it. These people are at death's door anyway. Um, so what does it matter that we take advantage of them because the end is near anyway? So let's just maximize our profits. And it's just so disgusting that they separate the humanity of this whole situation like that. Yeah, here it is. The sense is, well, they're medically frail and no one lives forever. That is their whole take on these little mishaps that happen because of their own interference and neglect to get this to have these mistakes happen. But yeah, so under Medicare Advantage, insurers collect lump sums from the federal government to cover senior care. But the less insurers spend on care, the more they have the potential of profit, meaning to keep that lump sum for themselves. And then, of course, to give bonuses to the CEOs and what have you. And what's worse, though, on top of like delaying these things from happening and putting their own experts, their own consultants in the nursing homes to be the ones that the nurses should talk to for recommendations on how to proceed with sending the person to the doctor or not, in which case they're going to say no, let's wait and see. On top of that, they also offer incentives to the nursing homes themselves, meaning they create like this system where they'll give you a kickback, so to speak. So if you only send this many seniors to the doctors, to the hospital, this many times in a quarter or a year, you get this amount of bonus. However, if you send this many, well, then you don't get anything or whatever. So you're further incentivizing the nursing homes to give bad service to these senior citizens so that they can get that feel of greed in their minds. So you're corrupting the staffers that are supposed to be taking care of these unfortunate seniors that are in their care. And then the last thing that that the article talked about was trying to get like customer information to try to contact the patients directly to switch their insurance from like the universal healthcare version to get the Medicare Advantage, which is a privatized version of that, to make more money off of them. And it's just insidious. So yeah, I guess I should have read this article a few more times to be able to have more specifications about what the article discusses. But I'll have a link in the show notes if you want to read more yourself and get a better understanding of what I was blabbering about. So anyway, reading this article really angered me to no end, and it just reminds me, well, not reminds me, well, it did remind me of Luigi Mangione, the alleged killer of the CEO of the United Health Group, the company that I'm currently talking about, the CEO, right, of United Healthcare. And he killed him with, he shot 3 bullets into him, and written into the casings was delay, deny, depose, in reference to the 3 words that I mentioned about health insurance, which is delay, deny, defend. So he gave the CEO a taste of his own medicine, so to speak, because the callous way in which he killed him, one guy who got rich and rich for this company, who got rich and rich off of everyone under their healthcare service, and then you have these senior citizens that are being taken advantage of, like I mentioned, in such a callous, disgusting, ghoulish, carrion, vulturish type of way. They're scavengers. I mean, that's just what it is. You prey on human suffering, on their illnesses, on their ailments for profit. It's so disgusting, and it just makes Luigi a much more sympathetic, vigilante, so to speak, because in the laws of the land, what this guy, Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, and what his company, the United Healthcare, is doing is legal. It is legally okay for these companies to exist and to prey on our senior citizens and on the populace at large regarding their health insurance, because that is baked into the books. And just another example of capitalism at work. Everything's about profit, regardless of what it is, whether it's just a job or your literal livelihood. like your actual physical or mental well-being. Like all of that is a commodity. It's something to exploit for that almighty dollar. And so having this Luigi Mangione take this single act of vigilante justice and killing off this guy who, of course, the media, which is controlled by the elites, are trying to call it an act of terrorism, which it isn't, because he did not do this to a country, he did not do this to a nation, he did not do this to a group of people, unless you're talking about CEOs. He did this to one man who was the CEO of a insurance company that exploits the suffering of everyone in this country, or the majority, because it's not a monopoly. There's other, as I mentioned, there's also Blue Shield and Cigna, and probably some other smaller medical insurance companies out there. And this is just the big one. And so Mangione took it upon himself to allegedly kill the guy. And he had a little manifesto where he talks about how, U.S. is the number one most expensive healthcare system in the world. And yet we rank 42%, number 42 in life expectancy. Like, how are we the number one richest, most expensive healthcare system in the world, and yet we're only 42 in life expectancy? Like, it makes no sense. Like, we have all this wealth in this country that's only available to the few. And then you have the rest of us funneled outwards, languishing, suffering, in debt, and, just living life in such a bleak manner. And yeah, that's how can one not be nihilistic? Or you either have one of two ways of going about it, right? You either or maybe three, right? One, you go towards the dark side, right? You become evil. You become a grifter, and you're like, well, you know what? Every man for themselves. That's the law of the land. And I want to be one of the ones that are on the top. So I will sell out anyone below me or to the side of me and put them below me so that I can get on top and I can make that sweet, sweet cash regardless of principles or morality. Just I will grift and twerk for the wrong things because it'll get me up and give me an edge in life. You could be that. You can go that route. You can go the resistant route, which is like people like Hasanabi, the Majority Report, other progressives, the ACLU, civil rights groups, organizations that are helping for different causes that will better society. You can go that route. You can go the hero route, I'll call it. And then there's me, the part of the forsaken, the and disenfranchised, the ones that are just throwing in the towel, kind of nihilistic. Like, I see a glimmer of hope, I think, but I mean, I've been around the block. I've seen how this has gone, and it's not just here in this country alone. We're a really bad a very hyperbolic example of the wrongs of capitalism. South Korea is a little worse than us. I don't know that much about South Korea, but I know enough that, yeah, they're just as bad to the point where materialism is, where there's like no progressive voices over there. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely worse than here. Here, at least we have some beacons of hope. Over there, as far as I know, there are no leftists talking because, like anything anti-Israel is linked to anti-Semitism. Anything anti-capitalism over there is going to be considered anti-communism because right north of the border is North Korea. And so that right there is the specter of communism to the South Koreans. And so that's always going to help push the right-wing narrative, which is why it's much worse over there. And capitalism is the law of the land, regardless of who you are. You just believe it because, hey, North Korea. but Europe is going through their own situation. There's a new white supremacy group in a political group in Germany that's trying to say, let's not even remember the Holocaust. Let's just move forward with our white supremacy, and let's forget about our atrocities of the 1940s. We don't need to think about Nazi Germany. Come on, that's in the past. That's not. We're moving on forward to just be proud white men now. And of course, Brexit happened with England, and they're anti-immigrants over there, and France, of course. It's happening everywhere, and it's a shame. But I live here in the U.S., and at least those places have universal health care. And we don't. We have health insurance, which is, as I mentioned already, an atrocity, an abomination on our lives. And so that's all I have for this episode. Nothing positive, really. Well, you know what? Let me leave on a happier note. So speaking of YouTube videos, I recently saw a YouTube video of one of these personalities named Bad Empanada. He's an Argentinian, and he did a little rant on Kanye West's album. Well, actually, on a single. I think it's called Hail Hitler. Let's just say it's called Hail Hitler. There's a song about Hitler on the new Kanye West album. And he was talking about how if you look at the lyrics of that song, really it's not even really about Nazism. It's just him being a man baby, because he's complaining about, like these right wingers do, personal grievances. And so he's talking about how he doesn't have access to his children since he got divorced, and people lash out at me. So because of my divorce and not having child custody of my kids, and because people say what a bad person I am, I'm just going to be a Nazi. That's basically the overall message of that song. It's not really about Nazism per se. It's just about his own personal grievance. And so because of his personal grievances, he's going to be all about doing the Sig Heil, and all about being a Nazi and about being Hail Hitler. Not for the principles of Nazism, but because he doesn't have access to his kids, and people say mean things to him, essentially. So because of personal grievances, I'm just going to be a Nazi. Well, if you're going to be mean to me, I'm just going to be a Nazi. Like, what a stupid man baby argument that is. So I guess there's a little positive note. Check out that. I'll put a link on the show notes regarding that Bad Empanada video as well. So anyways, let's get to the outro. And that wraps up the show. If you have any questions, comments, or any thoughts you'd like to share, you can reach me by the contact form on my website, or click on the contact me link in the show notes. If you're feeling extra generous, you can click on the donate link in the show notes and send me some dollars my way. This show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. This means you can share the audio, remix it, do whatever you want. Just say where you got it from. And as always, thank you for listening.